You're listening to the Relationships Uncomplicated podcast. Relationship advice so valuable, you won't believe it's free. And now your host, relationship expert, Idit Sharoni.
Welcome back to another episode of the Relationships Uncomplicated podcast, episode 82. I'm your host, Idit Sharoni, and today we're diving into a topic that's often overlooked yet profoundly impactful: bias in the aftermath of infidelity. When infidelity occurs in relationships, it's not just the act of betrayal that shakes the foundation, it's the aftermath, the fallout, and the way we interpret and navigate through it all. In today's episode, we're shining a light on the biases that can color our perception, our decisions, and actions in the wake of infidelity. From societal norms to personal experiences, biases can shape our understanding of infidelity, influence our judgments, and even impact the way we approach healing and reconciliation. And yes, biases can also extend to our therapists, those who are supposed to guide us through the healing process. Joining me today is someone I invited specifically because she has an interesting point of view on this. She's a therapist herself, so she gets to work with couples in the aftermath of infidelity, but she's also our program specialist, the one who interviews couples for our program. As such, she gets to hear couples' journeys before they get to our program. She also occasionally speaks in therapy schools and universities, sharing her experience with students. I think such a robust point of view definitely makes Alana Tokayer the best person to have this discussion with. Join Alana and me as we explore the nuances of bias in the context of infidelity and uncover how awareness and reflection can lead to greater clarity and healing in our relationships. As always, we will share important tips on how you can advocate for yourself in this matter. So, grab yourself your favorite beverage and get comfy, and let's dive deep into the complex world of bias in the aftermath of infidelity. But before we dive in, I'd like to present this episode's sponsor. This episode is sponsored by my Infidelity Recovery and Healing program, It's Okay to Stay. If you're struggling in the aftermath of infidelity but want to stay together, you can rebuild trust and heal through genuine expert help from me and my team personally. I started It's Okay to Stay after seeing couples therapy and self-help options often lacked essential components to help couples save their relationship after infidelity. It's Okay to Stay is a complete 8-week coaching program that involves an online roadmap course and one-on-one work with an affair recovery specialist. So if you have faith in your relationship and you want to stay together and heal, let's talk. I'm offering a 45-minute free consultation for couples who want to save their relationship and need expert help. If that's you, just go online to iditsharoni.com/45 and pick a time for a video call that both you and your partner can commit to. I'll hop on. We're first going to start with understanding your struggle, and then we're going to walk through It's Okay to Stay to see if the program is right for you. Look, so many couples try therapy and self-help methods only to be put at odds with each other. But that doesn't have to be you. With expert help, It's Okay to Stay will give you the clarity that you need to understand each other, to heal, and to find a path forward past infidelity. So again, all you have to do to book your free consultation is to go to iditsharoni.com/45. That's iditsharoni.com/45. I'll be honored to stand alongside with you on this journey. Okay, let's get into our topic for today: bias in the aftermath of infidelity. I'm here with Alana Tokayer, a member of our clinical team and our Infidelity Recovery Program specialists. As mentioned before, she has a unique perspective on the topic. Alana, welcome to the show. How do you see your unique perspective on this topic of bias in the aftermath of infidelity?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here to talk about this really important topic. So, my perspective on this topic comes from a few angles. I am a therapist who specializes in infidelity, and so I work with couples in the aftermath of infidelity every day. I'm also, as you said, the program specialist for our Infidelity Recovery program, It's Okay to Stay. And I'm the one who interviews couples from all over the world who are in the aftermath of infidelity and interested in the program. I dedicate the first part of this interview to learning about the couple's experience. And this is often when I hear about biases they've encountered as they've been trying to navigate the aftermath, both from people around them and from therapists. I also enjoy doing speaking engagements on infidelity, including guest lecturing and classes for therapists in training. And so I have a unique window into the minds of up and coming therapists.
Yes, and that is exactly why I think, you can share so much light from different angles on this very, very serious topic. Okay. So let me ask you, what have you noticed about bias from those different perspective that you described? What are people saying?
Well, there is so much bias when it comes to infidelity. Infidelity is one of those things where everyone walks around thinking to themselves, if I'm ever cheated on, I know exactly what I'd do. I'd leave. I would never stay with someone who cheats on me, right? People walk around with this mind frame. But the truth is, no one really knows what they do until they are in this situation, until they've actually been cheated on by someone they love, someone who they perhaps have a long history with, a family with. No one knows what they do until they're actually confronted with this situation. But everyone thinks they know what they do, and this is the problem. Because if everyone thinks they know what they would do, then they think they know what you should do. And
Yes.
thus we have bias. And when we say bias, it's usually a bias towards leaving, towards an inability to truly heal. This will be something that couples in the aftermath of infidelity face from friends, family, coworkers, the world at large. In fact, to highlight just how pervasive this bias is, I wanted to share a story about a client I was seeing who had been betrayed by her partner. Moments after she found out that her husband had been cheating on her, she went on social media and posted in a mom's Facebook group, "Oh my God, my husband has been cheating on me with his admin. Can you believe it?" She was just so blindsided and angry. She wanted to shout it from the rooftops. What happened next is really interesting. She received tons of comments, public comments on the post from women
Hmm.
telling her to run, leave, he'll never change, you deserve better. And at the same time, she received just as many private messages from women telling her she can work through this. Healing is possible. I've been there and we're doing great. I mean, wow, right? This highlights something so important. Publicly, people say leave, and privately, people say it's okay to stay. Bias and stigma around infidelity are totally at play here. It's so important to keep in mind how skewed the internet and the public notion is. And we'll touch on this a bit more later.
Yes, we will. And thank you. Thank you for this story because I think it reflects a lot of people's experience. I know that I used to have a Facebook group with thousands of people on it and dedicated to healing from the aftermath of infidelity. And one of the reasons I stopped or archived this group is because exactly what you're saying here, right? How people feel that they know what you should do and publicly saying things that maybe privately they wouldn't say, or, I don't know if it's the same person, but what we definitely say publicly impacts. And I thought this was too triggering and really unfair because that's not true, that does not reflect the truth of how people handle the aftermath of infidelity. And so I archived this group.
Mhm.
Okay, so what are some concerns that you hear from couples in the aftermath that you think maybe are fed off of this bias?
Sure. So I think a biggie is it true that once a cheater, always a cheater, right? Can a
Mm,
tiger change its stripes? This one is very common we hear.
yes.
Another one, can I, if I'm the hurt partner, maintain my dignity and self-respect and still choose to stay? And another one is, what does staying even look like? Is it even possible to truly heal? Or does a couple who stays together just look the other way? I'll go into these a bit more later as well.
Yes, because I think they are so important and can be so helpful. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners can identify themselves, at least, in one of those. Um, as both you and me know, these concerns also exist within therapists as they are part of society and, with their own life experience. However, and that's a big however, therapists at the very least should be aware of their bias. What I find to be all too common in this notion, sorry. Um, I think that therapists hold this belief that if cheating occurs, you're either advised to terminate the relationship or urged to accept a superficial form of forgiveness. As a therapist, I'm deeply uncomfortable with this perspective, and I do not believe it offers the only solution.
Exactly. And, while many of us are aware that when we talk to friends and family about this, we'll likely encounter bias. What we're not necessarily aware of is that when we walk into a therapy room and spill our guts to a therapist, we may also be in the presence of a biased therapist. So, what could happen is a couple or an individual in the aftermath of infidelity, their heads are spinning. They don't know which way is up. They are in dire need of a guiding light. So they get themselves into therapy, good, but they may find themselves in a therapy room with a biased therapist. So I
Yes.
wanted to chat a bit about that specifically, right? Bias among therapists. And we'll give some tips at the end on how people can deal with bias out there in the world among friends and family as well. But it's so important to talk about what we've seen among therapists.
Yes, and we will also share some tips and ideas on how to advocate for yourself in therapy. Um, I think it's one of those things that we kind of are afraid of, sitting in therapy thinking the therapist is the expert in the room, and who am I to challenge that? So we're going to help you with that for sure. Okay, so Alana, why is it so important to understand bias exists not only among friends and family, but also among our therapists?
So, therapists have such an immense ability to influence people. People come to therapy, and in particular, in the aftermath of infidelity, not knowing what to do. They are so incredibly vulnerable. There's a John Lennon song I often think about in our work, and it goes, "How can I go forward when I don't know which way I'm facing?" This really captures how a person feels in the aftermath of infidelity. Their life has just been flipped upside down and they don't even know which way they're facing. So people are coming to therapy in need of being reoriented. They need help finding their bearings and they need direction. Often their sense of coherency has been erased and their judgment shattered. So therapists really do hold a lot of power in
Mhm.
general and in particular with a couple or individual in the aftermath of infidelity. And by the way, this isn't a knock on therapists. We therapists are not robots. We're human
Right.
beings with life experiences. But it can be a problem if a therapist is unaware of his or her own bias or thinks it won't impact the therapy process, or even worse, a therapist who intentionally imposes his or her bias in the therapy room.
And unfortunately, the one of the reasons that we're doing this podcast episode is because these are things that happen. You wouldn't think they happen, but they happen, and they happen a lot. And we get to hear that from every other, couple that comes to speak to us. So this is not like once in a lifetime you hear that story and you're like, wow, we hear that really a lot, a lot, a lot. And
Mhm.
so we felt like, okay, if this is happening so often, we definitely want you to know that that's number one, not okay. And number two, there is something you can do about it. So, Alana, can you share some of the specific biases you've encountered regarding infidelity, particularly among therapists and those in trainings? This insight will help our listeners navigate the aftermath to be mindful of these biases when selecting a therapist.
Absolutely. So I have five to share. A couple I touched on earlier, but by no means is it's an exhaustive list. So the first one, and possibly the most pervasive bias out there, I mentioned earlier, is once a cheater, always a cheater. A tiger doesn't change its stripes. We've all heard it. Now, sure, it's possible that someone who has cheated will cheat again, but it's also possible that someone who has cheated, or even who has cheated multiple times, is at a point in their life where they're ready to put in the work, to explore their why and truly change. People can change. It happens every day. And by the way, any therapist who thinks people can't change is in the wrong profession, because that's what we help people do all the time.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. This is so important. I think we have a full episode dedicated specifically to that, and I'll put it in the show notes. But this is so correct, right? It's okay if you think that once a cheater, always a cheater. But if you are a therapist and you think that and you bring that into the room, pretending like you are neutral, then this is harmful. And our first rule is do no harm, right?
Mm,
And so we definitely want to be aware of that. And you, as a person going to a therapist, need to be aware of that option, right? Could be that your therapist has gone through their own infidelity story. And maybe they haven't had a partner that was remorseful and wanted to change. And so maybe they're taking from their own experience or their friend's experience or their family member's experience and um, basically saying that this is the experience.
mhm.
So we definitely want you to be aware of that. What's another one you can talk about? Another
Sure. And
bias.
yeah, it sort of dovetails from the first one. So another one is that a couple can't actually heal from infidelity. Those who stay together just choose to move on, brush it under the rug. Well,
Mm.
this may be true for some couples who stay together but don't actually move through the healing steps. But if a couple wants to heal and has a pathway for healing, they will heal. And what does heal even mean? It means for the hurt partner to have a space to express the depths of his or her pain, for the unfaithful partner to hear and validate the pain without defensiveness, for trust to be earned back, for eventual forgiveness to be reached, and importantly, for the couple to come out connected and with new skills that protect their relationship. That's healing, and it can absolutely be achieved with proper guidance and tools.
Yes. I want to say yes, 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 but um, I think, again, I don't want to just say that therapists are sometimes biased because we all are. Our society is biased against infidelity. And that's okay because, if you are in a monogamous relationship, then this is something that is a big no-no. It's not okay to do that. There is no excuse for that. But then what do you do if it already happened? You know? And I think that if you're a friend, if you are a family member and somebody tells you this happened to me, as a friend, you don't necessarily have the duty to tell the other person, oh, you're going to be okay, you're going to heal. But it would be nice. You would be a really good friend if you don't cast your own bias on your friend and you say, I'm here, whatever you decide, we're going to figure this out together, or tell me more. But then if you're a therapist and you come with this bias and notion that I don't think you can really heal from infidelity, what you can do is maybe put it in a box somewhere there and kind of somehow ignore it and hope that time will heal.
Mhm.
And I know it sounds crazy, but this is what therapists sometimes do, unfortunately. And you can recognize it if you go to couples therapy and you come with your story of infidelity, and the therapist cannot wait to end talking about the infidelity and start talking about, okay, so how do we improve your relationship? Because it's the
Yes.
relationship's fault. And so they'll give you one session, maybe two, to continue to talk about it. And then they'll say, okay, that's it. Let's now talk about, that there's bias there. And that this
Mhm.
therapist doesn't really, really believe that you can truly heal from infidelity. And so what they'll say is like, okay, it already happened. Let's focus on maybe healing your relationship. Hopefully, you'll be able to stay with each other with this thing. Okay.
Yes.
What's another bias you've noticed, Alana?
Yes. So another one is if a hurt partner stays, it means he or she is okay with the betrayal. No. Choosing to heal the relationship is not condoning or justifying the cheating. Cheating is not okay, but it doesn't have to mean the end of the relationship. It can mean that, and that's okay too, but it doesn't have to mean that. Healing and working through infidelity and even understanding it is not the same as condoning it.
Yes, I so agree with that. And I'm thinking about it in the context of, again, friends, family versus therapy. Uh, you know, you could totally feel judged by people around you if you decide to stay in a relationship after you've been cheated on, right? This is the reason why I called our program It's Okay to Stay, because I felt like we need to tell people it's okay.
Mhm.
It really is okay under certain circumstances, and under other circumstances it may not be okay. But if you decide to stay and for the right circumstances, for the right reasons, then it's okay. And it does not mean that you feel okay with what happened. So there's no excusing their behavior. There's maybe trying to understand more about it and having, you know, uh, other steps to heal. But definitely, I could totally see how that can feel, um, how people are afraid to tell others that they decided to stay. Um, what happens in therapy, I don't know if this one is so prevalent in therapy, because I think that therapists have that understanding that they are treating problems and they're not treating, you know, perfect couples who will never make any mistakes. And so maybe they will accept the fact that you want to stay. They might look at you as, let's see if you can be okay with this at some point.
Mhm.
And sometimes they'll look at you at, okay, get over it already. Snap
Mhm.
out of it. It's been fill in the blank amount of time, and you should be forgiving. And you should start, so it's either this or that, but it's very rare to find someone that's actually going to say, it's okay to stay, but it's not okay to cheat. And
Mhm.
let's make sure that you're healing properly.
Totally.
um,
And yeah, my next one actually sort of relates. It's that a hurt partner, this is the bias, cannot choose to work on the relationship and also maintain his or her dignity or self respect. In other words, the only way to hold on to your dignity and self respect is to leave. This
mm,
one in particular really makes my blood boil because it's so damaging to a hurt partner to think that somehow an openness to healing means he or she lacks self-respect and is afraid of leaving. Choosing to work through infidelity and heal a relationship can be an incredibly dignified, respectable, and courageous decision. Say it again. Choosing to work through infidelity and heal a relationship can be an incredibly dignified, respectable, and courageous decision.
Yes, totally. I agree with this. And I think that if you're listening to us, literally say this sentence to yourself every day, multiple
Yeah.
times a day. If you're the hurt partner thinking, what am I doing? Just say it to yourself. And we are not just saying it because it's like a nice mantra. We are saying it because we are witnesses to incredibly respectful, dignified, uh, with very, very courageous journeys of hurt partners, um, that we can say it with a lot of confidence. And we have another one, right? Another
Yes.
bias.
This one is maybe more of a general fear, which you've touched on, or discomfort or lack of expertise by therapists, just around this topic as a whole. So a common example we hear about is, like you said, a therapist who glosses over the infidelity and pushes the couple to work on underlying relationship issues before they're ready for that, essentially ignoring the elephant in the room.
Mm,
Or a therapist who pressures a hurt partner to make a choice. What do you want to do? Forgive or end the relationship? But that may be exactly what the hurt partner or the couple needs help navigating. It's the therapist's job to show a couple who's open to healing what that could look like. What can healing look like? To create a space for the hurt partner's pain to be heard and guidance on how to express this pain, how to put words to something that feels unspeakable and without lashing out. To help an
yeah.
unfaithful partner be a compassionate listener and validate the pain, to express remorse in a way that it's felt by the hurt partner, and so on, right? This is what the therapist should be there to help with. A therapist who throws up his arms and says, I can't help you until you decide what you want to do, is not being a helpful therapist.
Yes. And this is so therapeutic, what you just said. I
Mhm.
think it's, if you're listening to this and you're the hurt partner, and you've ever been to a therapy process where you felt pressure to forgive, pressure to make a decision, pressure to know, to have clarity when you don't, instead of getting tools to get there, then this is therapeutic to you, because you need to know, again, to be able to advocate for yourself and to tell yourself, I'm okay, I'm not crazy, I'm okay, I'm not this version of myself that I dislike. I am perfectly okay in not being able to have clarity right now, in not being able to know if I want to stay or if I want to go. I'm in crisis. Hey, you need to help me. Don't push me to, and don't give me any deadlines. Okay. Can I just say today's topic is an absolute game changer, in my opinion, and I couldn't be more thrilled that we're tackling it head on. I bet by now, as you've been, tuning in, you've already started nodding along, seeing yourself in one of those scenarios we've talked about. Now, let's talk about something that's near and dear to our hearts: how you can advocate for yourself in those crucial moments with friends, with your family, and most importantly, inside the therapy room. But before we dive into this transformative discussion, let's take a quick moment to show some love to our episode sponsor. This episode is sponsored by my Infidelity Recovery and Healing program, It's Okay to Stay. If you're struggling in the aftermath of infidelity but want to stay together, you can rebuild trust and heal through genuine expert help from me and my team personally.
I started It's Okay to Stay after seeing couples therapy and self-help options often lacked essential components to help couples save their relationship after infidelity. It's Okay to Stay is a complete 8-week coaching program that involves an online roadmap course and one-on-one work with an affair recovery specialist. So if you have faith in your relationship and you want to stay together and heal, let's talk. I'm offering a 45-minute free consultation for couples who want to save their relationship and need expert help. If that's you, just go online to iditsharoni.com/45 and pick a time for a video call that both you and your partner can commit to. I'll hop on. We're first going to start with understanding your struggle, and then we're going to walk through It's Okay to Stay to see if the program is right for you. Look, so many couples try therapy and self-help methods only to be put at odds with each other. But that doesn't have to be you. With expert help, It's Okay to Stay will give you the clarity that you need to understand each other, to heal, and to find a path forward past infidelity. So again, all you have to do to book your free consultation is to go to iditsharoni.com/45. That's iditsharoni.com/45. I'll be honored to stand alongside with you on this journey.
We are back, and we now want to share with you some actionable tips to start advocating for yourself. Everyone has an opinion, but no one is living your life. You are the expert on your life, and as such, you should know how to confidently advocate for what you need in terms of support. So, Alana, you have some 5 self-advocating tips to share. So let's begin with the first one.
Absolutely. So, whether in the context of a therapist or family or friends, tell them what you need. Do you need space to share your pain? Do you need a shoulder to cry on? Do you need support? Do you need somebody who's going to get you out of bed and take you on a walk? Do you need help thinking through what to do and what are the next steps? Ask for what you need.
Yes. Some examples maybe to make it a little more tangible. If you're about to tell a friend, but definitely when we work with you privately, we walk you through this process. But generally speaking, if you tell a friend, you can say before you start telling the story, I need to share something with you. And I don't necessarily want your opinion about whether I should stay or leave. I just need you to listen to me and be there for me. Okay, so you can preface or tell the person what you need them to do for you. That can happen with a family member or with a friend. But then with a therapist, you don't know necessarily what you're getting into until maybe the first, second session. And so at some point, you're going to feel like, wow, this is amazing. I feel so heard and seen and understood. Or you're going to feel like, I don't know what's going on here. I feel like I am not heard and I'm seen as this XYZ. And you'll stop listening to that therapist. All you're going to hear is yourself like saying, I can't believe this is happening. And so in that moment, you want to stop the session and tell your therapist what you need. You could say, listen, this is not helping me. I am not asking for your opinion, whether I should stay or leave. What I need you is to support me in my decisions. And you don't have to agree with me, but I need tools, or I need a roadmap, or I need, some steps that we can start working on. Tell them what you need. You don't have to need what I just said. Maybe you need something completely different, but you get the idea. Tell them what you need.
Absolutely. And a therapist is providing a service to a client, a paying client, right?
Right.
So we're not wired necessarily to think we can tell a therapist what we need, but we can. We can and we should.
Oh, and we should.
Yes. And the second one, sort of the flip side, is tell them what you don't need, right? I don't need you to tell me what to do. I don't need lessons and I told you so's. I don't need you to tell me what a horrible person my partner is. I don't need you to tell me to run for the hills, right? Be clear about what's not helpful.
And again, you would think that a therapist wouldn't tell you to run for the hills, but they do. And sometimes, maybe under certain circumstances where there's, maybe uh, violence, domestic violence, or where there's uh, where there are situations that really require running. But we hear this in very different contexts, right? So hurt partners are told to run for the hills because they tell their therapist that their husband had an affair, and they're shocked. So it doesn't have to be this horrible story of this evil spouse that is torturing you. It can be a wonderful relationship, a wonderful marriage, and an affair, and then you're told to do that. So tell your therapist what you don't need, definitely. What's another what's another one
Yes.
you
So this one is to consider clarifying. So this could be an issue, definitely with friends and family, maybe in the therapy room. As the hurt partner, I am choosing to see if healing is possible. I'm not committing
Mm,
to staying no matter what. A lot of people don't understand that an openness to the healing process is not the same as an unequivocal commitment to stay in the relationship. So if you feel like this is in need of explanation, go ahead and explain it.
yes. I think this one fits very well in a couples therapy office, or like a couples therapy session, sorry,
Mm,
right? Because um, I think it's very hard for hurt partners to express themselves because they're going through their own, turmoil and crisis in the moment. So it's hard to have clarity. It's hard to recognize, to be able to form sentences and make sense even to yourself. But with that, I want you to go into your sessions first understanding that if you are in this journey, it doesn't mean that you're committed to 100% staying in their relationship. And what it can mean, maybe you are, but it can also mean is that you're open to letting your partner earn your trust. And your therapist needs to be able to facilitate that, right?
absolutely. Okay. This
Okay.
fourth one, I think, is more geared towards society at large. And this one is to remove yourself from unhealthy environments. So this could mean in-person interactions, being very selective about who you tell, limiting your time on the internet in groups and forums where people are unhinged and can say whatever they want, right? Keep in mind the internet and social media, it's highly skewed towards leaving, right? Like in the story I shared earlier about my client who posted to Facebook. One of the first things a hurt partner will do is get on the internet and start Googling incessantly about infidelity. And most of what's out there is geared towards leaving, but it's not reliable. It's not representative of what people actually do. Why? Because people who leave are far more likely to talk about it openly than those who stay. And so anything you're going to see out there is not an accurate reflection of what people actually do in the aftermath of infidelity. So this is really important to keep in mind.
Yes, yes. And I think I'm getting a little more encouraged because I started seeing more and more books about staying after infidelity, where the books we had maybe 10 years ago had names like, I can't remember the exact names, but How to Leave a Cheating Husband, or uh, leave. It had to do with just, it happened, leave, run, get away. Cheaters are narcissists, and there's a lot of definitions there. And the only solution, good solution, was to get out of that relationship. And slowly, I've been seeing more and more books, which tells me, okay, if there are more books, there's more audience for that. um, of people saying, well, maybe you can stay, right? So hopefully there is
I
some
hope so.
encouraging news that we are starting to understand that it's not that black and white as we like to think.
Yeah.
But again, remember, when you share with people, sometimes you kind of know who are those friends that are going to be more on that black and white side of things, and who are those friends that are going to be more open to just being there for you without putting in their bias. So share with the second group. You don't know
Yes.
that necessarily about a therapist, but you
Mm.
could. You could find out a little more. And I will share a little story that I just learned about a couple that's working with our company that years and years and years ago found out about an affair, and they actually invited a therapist who they thought who was a therapist for like a 3-day intensive work, um, thousands of dollars that they paid this person. And actually, it ended up being very destructive for this couple. Um, and what I wanted to share is that we are sometimes so quick to believe what people say about themselves. So if somebody has a website or a Instagram profile and they call themselves an expert and they call themselves a public figure, we don't think twice and we give them the authority. And if you get anything out of this, is please check that whoever's gonna save your relationship, it's a big job.
Mm.
It's like you would choose your surgeon if you needed a heart surgery. You wouldn't just go to Instagram and find someone, right? You would check their credentials. Please check that you are working with someone that actually has license to be a therapist and is not just someone who has no background, or maybe background. I don't know necessarily know that background helps here, but someone who doesn't have the um, academic knowledge, the experience. Uh, I don't know if people really go and check and they just believe what they see. So I would totally ask you to check, advocate. Part of advocating for yourself and for your relationship is to check who you're working with. Okay. I need to stop with it. I
Well,
know.
this is, keep
Like,
going. This is exactly this is my final tip. You hit the nail on the head with exactly what I was going to share, but it's worth drilling in. Find a therapist who specializes in infidelity recovery. Make sure it's a therapist. There are so many unqualified people out there giving advice, just like you said. So find a therapist, read their website. Do they mention infidelity? What do they say about it? Ask for a phone consultation so you can actually get a feel for them.
please,
Ask them
yes.
on the phone about their experience with affair recovery. Ask about their approach. Do they have an approach? What is it? Remember, infidelity is a specialty and you want the specialist.
Yes, you do. And I would even go one step ahead and say, when you do the consultation, this is not for the therapist to determine whether you would be whether they want to work with you or not. This is also for you to determine whether whoever is on the other side of the line, or we do a very long process of consultation. We actually dedicate 45 minutes and sometimes even more to really make sure that you would be the best fit for us to work with, but also that we and what we offer will be the best fit for you. That's a 45-minute conversation to really have an idea of what do we do, how we do it, what we offer, what's our experience, what our credentials are, all of that. I think that this is the bare minimum therapists need to offer, or coaches need to offer, whoever's going to be their client. If you're not offered a bit of that, and you're just, you feel like you're being pushed, and something in your gut tells you, I don't know, please check. Thank God we live in this world where everything is available. All the information is out there.
Yes.
Just look at it,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anything else you wanted to add, Alana, to that?
I mean, there's, this was, the tip of the iceberg. The bias is a big topic, but my hope is that we gave your listeners a good overview, and they're walking away with something tangible that they can use to help them with when it comes to this bias. So, yeah.
I sure hope so. So as we wrap up today's episode, I'm really hopeful that you're living with some valuable tools to advocate for yourself, for your healing journey after experiencing infidelity. Trust me, trust us, having witnessed numerous couples navigate this intricate path. We wholeheartedly believe that you have the power to communicate your needs, even to your therapists. And remember, if they aren't listening, don't hesitate to seek out someone who will. As we come to an end of today's episode, I want to express my gratitude for you for joining me in this journey. Remember, this is just a temporary farewell. There are plenty more heart-to-heart conversations ahead. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for our future episodes. If today's discussion resonated with you, consider spreading the love by giving us a rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Your support helps us reach even more couples who may benefit from our message of hope and guidance. Thank you sincerely for tuning in today. Alana, thank you very, very much for your wisdom and for your wonderful words. I'm sure people will take a lot from this. I wish all of you a wonderful day or evening, whenever you're listening to this podcast. Take care, and sending lots of love your way. Bye. Until next time.